just like that, they buy it. They eat it up. You pander to them, you thank them. I mean, really, people, I thought you were a little bit smarter than that. I mean, it's just so easy to say the name of the city. You cheer.
Hey, Stephanie,
You cheer. I mean, just come on.
Welcome to the A Show.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the A Show, episode 111, with the Kings, a pro wrestling podcast. I am Justin, here with Meelz. Happy, well, it's not Thanksgiving anymore. How was your Thanksgiving?
I don't know. It was whatever. It was whatever. I don't know. It was just whatever. All this stuff, I should, you know what? Let me not say anything. It was whatever. How was your Thanksgiving?
It was dope, man. It was cool. You know, right after we recorded last week, I started prepping. Wednesday, when the show came out, I was cleaning turkey, making mac and cheese, making yams. I burnt the yams on Wednesday.
Glad you didn't take it to Twitter like the rest of us.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, of course.
The plate would have looked good though. Like if anyone took a picture of the plate on Thursday, it would have looked good. But everyone thought the yams that I salvaged, I managed to salvage some of them.
Okay.
I think the issue was that I was using a skillet recipe because I was just like, I wanted to try. I wanted to be a little bit crispier than like the regular yams.
Crispy.
And, well, yeah. But here's the thing.
That's just crust, and you just wipe it off with a friggin' knife like a morning.
Well, the skillet that I use is like a 12-inch. I'd probably need like a 15-inch to fit all of the sweet potatoes on it because they're bigger, they're thicker than like regular potatoes. And so I did them in batches. So I put half in, and I was like, okay, we're gonna do this one for 45 minutes, not an hour.
Right.
So I was like, oh crap, I gotta go get pineapples for the ham. I gotta go get sugar for a cake that my girlfriend was making, and I gotta get cranberry sauce. So I ran to the corner store. As I'm going to the corner store, I'm like, oh crap, I only put half in. So they shouldn't be in for an hour. They should only be in for like 40 to 45 minutes. I run back, they're burnt.
Terrible.
Well, not that I left the house with them cooking. My girlfriend's cousin was there watching them, and I was like, "Oh crap!" I meant to call her and tell her like, "Take them out." They burnt. Second batch, I overcooked them because I was there. It was a smaller batch that should have been there for maybe 20 minutes, and I cooked them for 40, and they burned again. But I managed to salvage some of them. It was the only mishap I had. The actual turkey, ham, everything was fine. Everything was great. It was great.
Listen, I'm glad all of that went down. I'm glad the food was at least, good, and you guys enjoyed yourself and all the other stuff. What else happened? I didn't buy anything over the last couple shopping days. I feel disgusted. I know I'm disgusted with myself. I really am. I'm like, what do I want? I legitimately am sitting here and I'm like, yo, what do I want out of life? And I'm having like a bigger conversation with myself now. I'm just like, yo, how do I get to Black Friday and Cyber Monday and I don't buy anything? I feel like a loser.
I bought a lot of Switch games.
Ooh, okay.
I went back and bought Breath of the Wild again.
All right.
Because I finished Pokemon on Wednesday, and I was doing the post-game stuff, and so I was asking people on Twitter, like, what should I get with this $50 in eShop money that I have? And they were like, get Breath of the Wild. I played it again. I played it before, and I was like 30 minutes in. I was like, all right, I can't do this.
Everyone recommends Breath of the Wild because when I was getting my Switch, the Best Buy girl was just like, you want Breath of the Wild? Because everyone's getting it. And I was like, are you paid to say that? Like, like why? But, apparently it's the best game on the damn Switch.
Yeah, I would say that is true. I bought Mario over Zelda the year that I got my Switch, which was the 2017. And again, I was just like, I just tapped out 30 minutes after Zelda. And when I rebought it, I was like, I'm going to give it an honest try. And I'm actually hooked. I haven't played Pokemon in like almost a week because Zelda has like had me glued to the Switch. So
it's good. It's good.
It's a good game.
Yeah, I mean, from the things that I've seen, it looks pretty good. I've never been a Zelda person. I've never been anything.
Me either.
Well, speaking of that, wait, maybe I don't know if this is too much banter, but it is the 25th anniversary of the PlayStation coming out.
Oh, yeah.
Any wrestling games you remember getting? Well, actually, you did tell me something. Maybe you can expound on that.
Yeah. I had pretty much every wrestling game on the PS1 except WCW versus the World, which was kind of the first one that dropped, I believe.
Did you have Warzone?
Yes, I had Warzone.
What a complicated system. Now, like,
when you were a kid, you didn't even like this. It was like I finally get to play as Stone Cold Steve Austin in the game. Like,
yeah, but to do the stunner, it's like left, down. I mean, the mechanics of the entire old PlayStation, to me, I'm looking back at fondly, and it's like, damn, I remember when the PlayStation was new. That's how old I feel. But like, man, the mechanics of that game, bro.
Yeah,
it do anything.
And then they had those really weird promo things that they did.
Oh yeah, the recorded thing. It was Ahmed Johnson like, go.
Get ready for what that stupid little bit out the face. Cause it's time to meet the real superstar of WWF. And I'm gonna beat you, and no one gonna come save your sorry carcass. Just make sure you got plenty of insurance, punk.
Have you seen the video where they try and translate what he's saying?
No. Oh my God, I gotta see that.
It is absolutely hilarious. I think that like that's like the best thing that video has ever that video game has ever produced, because it wasn't really that good. Attitude was kind of like my de facto game until Smackdown came out, of course.
Smackdown 2 was my game, man.
And I got WCW Nitro and Thunder, actually. I had both games.
How was those? I've never, not a WCW person, never even, I guess they would be cool, but then I feel like I wouldn't know. I'm lying because I feel like I did know everyone in WCW, I just never watched. But how were those games?
They were terrible, like objectively terrible. There were like 150 characters in them. Like there was a dinosaur in one, there was a Sasquatch in another one. I can't remember which game. It was just, there was terrible games. I got one of them for Christmas, like 2 years after it came out. And I was just like, what? Like, wasn't expecting this. But I think PS1 obviously didn't have a stronger lineup than the N64 did. I mean, it had the benefit of having full motion video promos and stuff like that in their games. But I mean, WCW NWO Revenge, which was actually the best selling third party game on the N64. And
really?
Yeah, it was. And No Mercy, obviously, were like kind of the top of the pops for wrestling in these 32-bit era. But PS1 started it all.
Listen, worst wrestling game I ever owned. I bought WrestleMania 18 for GameCube. Don't ask why I had a GameCube. I regret all of it. I was so young, so inexperienced. Not sure why I got any of it. It is one of the worst wrestling games I've ever seen in my life. But you know what? Here we are, months later, and still going through the same issues with a wrestling game that's out now.
Yeah,
maybe more issues, maybe even more. Who knows?
Yeah. I actually didn't put that in the actual run sheet we have for today, but allegedly rumored that a lot of developers from 2K are leaving 2K after in the tepid reaction to 2K20, which after playing it with Mark and Cyrus over the weekend has not changed at all. Still the same, same stuff going on with it.
Jeez Louise, man. I mean, as they say in the biz, there's always next year.
Well, I mean,
at this point,
do you pick it up? I mean, do you take a look at it? I mean,
I played in the store. I put in the store whatever console it is. That is as far as I'll go with it. So yeah.
Let's get to it. No holds barred for this week.
Sure.
Small ratings update. Actually, small show update. I know last week the War Report did not air last week, but that was due to a Thanksgiving thing. Cyrus and MJ will be back, so this actually gives us a chance to talk about NXT and AEW for a second here. You want to do that?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Well, listen, I didn't see AEW last week. I'll be honest with you. I've kind of tuned out of AEW. I can't watch both shows on Wednesday anymore. I just can't. Like, especially considering how rockin' NXT is at this point.
Yeah, I absolutely feel you. I heard that. Well, I've been watching weekly. I just didn't watch last week. I heard last week was probably the worst show that they've done so far. But this week, NXT beat them in the ratings. It is
handsomely.
Yeah, and here's the thing: like, it's such a weird like seesaw with these ratings here, because I mean, for them to both debut at 1 million, and then for NXT to just get as low as 600,000 viewers, and then go right back up to 800. Like, this week's number was NXT 810,000 and AEW 663,000 viewers.
Well, it kind of proves that all the stuff that has been doing over the last couple of weeks have been working, right?
Yeah.
The incorporations of WWE superstars, also heavily putting over NXT talent on the main shows. Kind of, I mean, Keith Lee kind of got a brand new life going into NXT this week, and everyone kind of showed up for it at various points. I mean, and we have so many different storylines. It's like things are finally starting to pick up on NXT, and the ratings are finally showing it. I mean, staying the course. Yeah,
and I think I even said this a couple weeks ago. Stay the course. Do the same exact thing that we're doing.
I'm not sure what AEW, to me, post WWE pay-per-view, I'm doing a big show. Not as like a big show, but at least something to draw attention, considering what you're up against. I wouldn't just like do a small show, but they've kind of like pit themselves into a hole, especially with the Cody and MJF type of thing and all this other stuff. But we'll see what happens. Listen to the War Report.
What matches? What matches does AEW have left to do? They've done everything. Lucha Brothers, Bucks. They've done Kenny, and they did Kenny and Pac again last week. I mean, they're hot shotting a lot of big matches on the TV every single week, and they have such long breaks in between pay-per-views that it is like, by the time you get to a pay-per-view, you've seen all these matches. I think that the roster depth is definitely a problem with them right now.
Yeah, they need new guys to pillage from WWE, but WWE's giving out 5-year contracts to everybody. So maybe they need to raid Impact, ROH.
They're definitely not going to do that.
New Japan?
Hell no. They're expanding to the US, so New Japan's definitely not going to do that. A partnership would work, but like, is a partnership with New Japan and AEW like worth it? Wouldn't it be like?
Yeah, no, I would say it's worth it. I would say, considering you've got kind of these established worldwide athletes, and New Japan is kind of in AEW's wheelhouse, considering, sort of the close relationship that they have in the past. A lot of AEW stars have been featured in New Japan. Japan stars have faced a lot of AEW. I think sort of the marriage of it worked well with their current fan base, and I think their fan base would appreciate it a lot and will probably become more excited. And you also get to feature a lot of these New Japan guys on primetime American television. So I think it would actually be good if they actually decided to go about that.
Yeah. So that's our small ratings report. I don't really like doing ratings talk, but there you go. Next up, Tomasso Ciampa was on Lillian Garcia's Chasing the Glory podcast this week, and he said that I haven't heard it. I need to listen to it to see if he cried. Lillian will have your ass crying literally within the first 2 minutes of the podcast. You will be crying.
Just place one hand on your hand, and it's like, it's okay. Let it out. Listen, we all have neck surgeries.
But he was on the show, and he mentioned why he has no interest in being called up. If you remember, a little bit earlier this year, Ciampa was slated to be one of the few NXT talent, along with Johnny Gargano, Aleister Black, and Ricochet, that were going to be called up to the main roster in that weird wild card.
He was called up. He needed to stop fronting. He was 100% called up, and he would have ran with it if he did not hurt himself on the prior to
first night. Literally the first night.
Yeah, I mean, he would have been with it. This is cap to me. This is major cap. If this was 6 months ago and none of the stuff that happened 6 months ago happened, he would continue to be on the main roster, probably be on SmackDown right now. doing a whole bunch of things. The fact that he wants to retire on NXT, in my opinion, is because NXT now has a TV deal and they're probably paying him a lot more to be on NXT.
And he's a top guy as well.
Yeah, he's a top guy.
But let's get to the quote really quick. He said, "I'm not kidding to the extent of which I've communicated this, and that is that he doesn't want to go to Raw or SmackDown. Now it's different. Before I just didn't want to because I really believed in NXT and wanted to ride it and see how far we can take it. Now it's a whole different level of there is that, but I have one little one at home, and my schedule is better in NXT than it would be on the road. And I had neck surgery, and I'm not friggin' stupid. I get that my window is smaller than it was, and my bump card is ticking. But I just look at it like if I'm doing 200 plus dates a year on the road with Raw or SmackDown, or I'm doing a manageable load of 30 to 50 matches with NXT. Okay, so I could do 4 years of that in the time that I would do one in Raw or SmackDown. So how long could my career and portfolio grow here as opposed to going there?"
I raised this question. NXT being on national television, how much longer do you actually think that they continue the schedule that they're doing?
Exactly.
Before things start expanding, they start doing more. I've probably in 2020, all those house shows, they could definitely be ramped up. I mean, Triple H is doing the thing that he does in his own special way, and Raw and SmackDown are going to do those things. But I don't think that NXT is going to continue the same sort of schedule that they do, especially with the high amount of exposure consistently for the next couple of years.
Yeah.
WWE has always WWE in the last couple of years added 2 more pay-per-views overseas, with Crown Jewel and all the things. I expect NXT guys to be eventually incorporated into pay-per-views, incorporated in pay-per-view weekends, incorporated into WrestleManias, incorporated into Royal Rumble weekends, all these other things. There's no conceivable way that he thinks he's going to do 30 to 50 shows a year. Just continue in WWE. I think, don't get me wrong, I get his reasoning. He's like, listen, this neck thing, ticking time bomb. It is.
Yeah, no, I wish he had just come up front and said that it was the neck. Like, he just making it seem like it's something that it's not.
Yeah, it's the neck. I mean, yes, you have all this pride, nationalist pride for NXT, which is something that they hone very, very close to their chest. However, it's the neck. He wants to continue doing this for as long as he can. He wants to stretch it out as long as he can. I 100% agree with that. I get the logic behind it. But it's potential that NXT ramp things up and you may be needed as well. But, we'll see how it goes. I think he just wants to extend his career as long as possible. And he's just like, oh, this is the greatest situation. This is the easiest situation for me right now with the greatest payoff. And I completely understand it.
Well, he continues on and he says, "I've legitimately vocalized to them, if I have to go to Raw or SmackDown, I'm going to retire and I would love to produce or coach and be part of it. But there's no way I'm taking on that load and going, yeah, you know what? I'll just have a 6-month run and call it quits. I just won't do that. It's not worth it to me or worth it to my family."
I feel like that's kind of, I don't want to judge him, but it's kind of like problematic and it's kind of insulting to other superstars.
Right. It comes off as a little disingenuous. Like, not everyone has an opportunity. Not everyone has the opportunity. He is considered a locker room leader there. He is a top guy there. I think before Alistair and Ricochet left, he was in probably the top 4 of those guys on the top of the card who were in everything. He's wilding. I'll just say that.
Yeah, I mean, to me, in my opinion, I look at that quote and I was like, wow, he's just going to really just, I mean, if he can coast, he can coast. If I'm a top guy himself, I'm like, yo, NXT's on TV. How come I can't move to NXT? How come people can't move to NXT? I want to work 30, 50 years. I want to have the 6, and he's just saying like, yo, if I move to Raw or SmackDown, I'm going to retire. I'm like, but, all of this is opportunity. All of this to me is opportunity, especially be on a stage like WrestleMania and things. And I'm sure he'll get there one day, but all of this is an opportunity. And I think if WWE calls, if Vince McMahon calls and he says, I need Ciampa on Raw, and, he's going to have to go. I mean, it is what it is.
I think Johnny will go.
I How do you turn it down? It's a new landscape. It's a new I don't know. I guess you would turn it down because of his neck, but it kind of seems like, yo, I really want to stay here because of my family and all this other stuff. But it's like, look how many of these superstars are going out busting their ass and can't be close to their families. And it's kind of like, I feel like in that situation, you're like, I don't know. It's kind of like, to me, it like throws it in their face literally, but if I'm
I chose NXT and you didn't get a chance to because I got hurt. I got hurt in the middle of my call up.
Yeah, and I'm just like, but look at your peers who are doing their and busting their ass and all the other stuff, and they're not complaining that. Why isn't Kevin Owens say, I'm going to retire? I want to go back to NXT?
Because how loudly was he protesting when they showed up on Smackdown or whatever that one week?
Yeah,
like,
I mean.
It was
Maybe you feel like he got bad mojo on it.
Sure. I don't know. I do think we'll see him on the main roster sooner than later. I do.
Yeah, I think we'll see everybody at some point. I mean, I don't think the brands are going to be static, especially for a number of years. I can't see the same. I mean, he just can't stay on NXT forever. The depth in that roster, while huge, isn't as deep as those other brands are. So I don't think that there's going to be anything left for him after this next feud. Honestly, I'm gonna be completely honest. Like, he doesn't need to be there that much longer. This just as far as storylines go. He's been there a very long time. He's been there 5 years, I think, almost. Yeah, he's been there quite some time.
So it's time to go.
Quite honestly, baby. Yeah.
Sticking with NXT, Mauro Ranallo. I don't think we touched on this last week. I think we were going to leave that to the War Report. There were tweets that happened. Just a quick run through. There were tweets that happened between Corey Graves and himself, which caused Mauro to be off of Survivor Series. Corey apologized. It was a big thing. He didn't show up on NXT last week. We had Tom Phillips, of course. This week, it has been reported by Post Wrestling and John Pollock, who's a very close friend of Mauro, that he will be on NXT this week, and he was very adamant about returning to the show. So we will be hearing from Mauro Ranallo this week. So, I mean, this is like a 2-week-old thing at this point. I don't know if there's anything more that we can call from this story, but I think it's good that he'll be back. I'm not a huge fan. How about this? I'm a fan of Mauro when he's not shoehorning the urban hip references in. I feel it's very awkward and off-putting to me as a black man.
It's like, I personally don't feel like that way. To me, it just kind of like, it's corny now. That's kind of my thing. And, you know, someone is kind of pointing it out on Twitter just as we're all doing it. And I mean, granted, I'm sure he regrets what he says now because of the effect that it had on his former colleague. But at the same time, it's also, but bruh, like, you realize it kind of like ruins it all the time. That's what I'm saying. It's like, to me, all the time. And I don't want to be considered a bully because I'm pointing it out, because I feel like that's what a lot of people on Twitter did. They considered what he did, which was essentially critiquing another, thing, and they took it as bullying when it's not bullying. I mean, they're both on the same level. They're both colleagues. I think one is able to give constructive criticism to the other, especially one who's been, been fairly decent, fairly good at his job for the last number of years.
It's not on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, well, yes, that's true. Not on Twitter. It could have been definitely a better place to do it. But to be honest with you, is Corey Graves not really saying anything that anybody else doesn't believe or at least think?
Yeah, and I think it's really odd and kind of crazy that Corey was actually in putting down Mauro, which he absolutely did, and that was wrong. He was actually defending Nigel and Beth, who I felt like last week on NXT, I don't know if you watched it, Meelz, but she seemed like the most active and lively that she's ever sounded since she started in October, I believe. And even Nigel was getting them off. And I feel like Tom knew how to flow to those two a lot better than Mauro does. He's just very overpowering as a voice. And love him or hate him, like, I would love to hear, like, Beth is the only female commentator right now.
Right.
I would love to, like, she needs to get better. Like, I haven't been a huge fan of Beth, and I was just like, you know what, Beth is just like, there's large points of time where she's just silent. And then I understood why. Last week, I was just like, yo, she sounds very much comfortable in this role here, and Nigel as well. And like, and to your point, Meelz, I feel like Corey, what he said wasn't wrong. I feel like there are people that are on Twitter, on social media every single day that say way worse things about Mauro than what Corey did. Corey just did it in a really unprofessional manner.
Right. And then Moral would respond with like, stay mad, like haters, like all this other stuff like that. But, you know, I get what it is. I think it's a kind of a triggering situation. But Moral's good enough at his job to not know, to at least like be able to, and has been doing this for quite some time and probably has gotten criticism in other ways, to kind of understand, in my opinion. But I don't want to tell another man how to feel. I mean, if he feels a certain way about how he feels, then I mean, that's his own life experiences. But at the same time, it's like, he hasn't said anything I haven't said, to be honest.
Yeah, honestly, I feel the same way. EC3, really quick. It's been reported by the Wrestling Observer that he's dealing with a concussion, and that's why he's been off TV. I was wondering where he was in the people running to the 24 people running to the 24/7 match
in the Benny Hill spot of God. Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, what do you do with EC3?
He's perfectly fine where he is.
You think so? I don't think so. I don't know. I feel like, not to say that he's like an in-ring savant, but
yeah. I mean, I didn't think he didn't impress me in NXT, and NXT is a place where everyone can impress, right, in some way, shape, or form. I think he was one of the only guys on the roster that had a bad match with Velveteen. Yeah,
but I mean, I think also he's such a big personality that there's some way to use him. I mean, I think considering the guys who are on the roster every week, I mean, we got Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler every week. You mean to tell me you can't slot EC3 in some sort of, you know, role as one of those? Like,
no.
No, yes, you can. Yes, you can. Hush. Yes, you can.
I don't know. I think, you know, what the problem is that his character didn't work, and it needs some retooling. I like the Red Cup thing he was doing, and then he just dropped it. I don't know. I just think that maybe he needs some retooling. He doesn't need to be like the EC3 that he was in TNA.
Impact. Well, EC3 in Impact has contextual, like it makes sense there considering it's nepotism.
Right.
EC3 in WWE, you kind of lose that nepotism. Maybe bring Dixie in as a talent. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, we've seen worse stuff happen.
Yeah, but he's dealing with that, so that's why he's been off TV. Dana Brooke and Batista and Dana Brooke throwing up shots, shooting a shot on social media. How do you feel about this whole thing? To me,
they could stop, please.
Yeah, it's very weird. I don't know if what it's for, like the Twitter matchmaking stuff. Like, David, come on, baby, you making too much money to be out here messy like this, bro.
Listen, Big Dave he's doing what Big Dave does. And
too much money.
And I just hope Dana Brooke reads in between the lines. This is Big Dave. This is Big Dave 101. This is Big Dave with social media now. I'm sure this is 2005 Big Dave.
I hope it's helping her get off main event. Like, I hope he's making the call to get her off main event.
Maybe. Nah, probably not.
Yeah, like
probably not.
I don't know what this is doing. I again, not hating on the relationship. If it happens, I'm happy for both of them. I think that Dana is a very pretty woman. I think Batista is a very dope dude. But yo, what's y'all about to do with this? Like, I'm like, every single day I'm like, yo, they sent another tweet to each other. I'm like, all right, bro.
I think what do you do with Dana Brooke? I feel like Dana Brooke is I think she would be great at being a valet more than she would be in the ring. Not that great.
They tried it though.
I mean, they tried it with the Charlotte thing and the Emma thing, but I don't know. I just like, what do you do with Dana Brooke? Dana Brooke is really, I don't know. I can't figure it out.
Get a room, guys. Get a room, guys. Get a room.
AEW, maybe.
Okay, now my favorite part of the host part. We started. We said we were going to start this last week. Mm-hmm. And I watched my episode. I watched the episode. Did you watch the episode?
I did watch the episode.
So this is this week's episode of Kana Chat.
Kana Chat. It was called Kana's Corner last week. It was Kana Chat.
Kana's Corner. I thought it was Kana Chat. Which one do you like?
We can call it Kana Chat. No, we can call it Kana Chat.
So me and Meelz every week do a deep dive into an episode of Kana-chan TV, which of course is Asuka's YouTube channel. And this week, Asuka made wine.
Asuka at a winery. She's figuring out how the wine is made. Potentially,
she's so innocent and pure. I love her.
She has the worst camera person on earth.
Oh, these zoom-ins are hilarious.
He's just zooming in on stuff. I'm like, bro, come on. I'm like, I'm trying to figure out who's zooming in. I don't know if it's her man or her family member, someone that she hired.
I like to think it's Kairi Sane.
See, that's what I wanted to think too. But I don't know.
Kairi. I think it's Kairi Sane.
I hope not. I hope not. Jesus, Louises.
Some of my favorite bits from this week, the fact that Asuka looks like a wrestler in this place. Like literally.
Where was she? Where is this?
I don't know. I would imagine that it is somewhere. Where have they been? They've been kind of like in
in Chicago.
They've been in Chicago. They've been around the Midwest this week. So it'd have to be somewhere around that. But I think she lives in Florida, right?
Yes, she lives in Florida.
So I don't know. Usually she does these videos when she's on tour or on a break during her weekends. So of course she does work Monday Night Raw. I think they're off today, tomorrow, up until Friday when they start doing house shows. So
yeah,
she could have been anywhere. Who knows where she is? She never says her location unless explicitly she's on tour. So I don't know where it was, but she was the only person there with colorful, bright hair. I think someone even compliments her on her hair during the episode. I think the cutest thing is that she's eating egg souffle with a chopstick. And I was just like, yo, everyone there has to be looking at her like, yo, cause she's in the sticks. She literally she's in the Midwest, it looks like. And they're just looking at her like, yo, she's really throwing down with these chopsticks. And I was like, yo, she's a queen, bro.
I really watched all 15 minutes of this. It was an interesting experience. I learned how wine was made. She seemed like she had a great time. Various, fermentation, everything. Yeah, she stuck out like a sore thumb in front of all these, these white people. But it is a new experience. Every time.
I love her. I'm gonna go deep dive and I'm gonna send you a link from one of her older episodes.
That sounds good.
One that you'll have. So that was Kana Chat for this week. Asuka makes wine. Shout out to Asuka herself. I'll tag her. We'll tag her in the tweet. Tell her we watched.
Yes.
You ready to get to the shows? Let's run through these shows real quick.
Let's get through the shows. Yeah.
Friday Night Smackdown, a show where things happened. The in-ring was.
We need to have a conversation. We need to have a conversation.
I'm ready. I kind of know where you're going with this.
Smackdown is bad. Smackdown is bad. Smackdown, it is not worth staying home on a Friday night unless you're doing, Friday night loser call, which I'm present for almost every week now.
Turn up.
However, Smackdown needs help bad. SmackDown is... To me, SmackDown gotta be, I don't want to say it's the Knicks of the damn television show, but damn, it is bad. It is bad. It needs so much. And there's something weird that every time Baron Corbin is kind of in the main event program, a show kind of takes a complete downturn in quality and quantity. But man, and I don't even think Baron Corbin is that bad. I don't despise him as I did anymore, but at the same time,
he's not it for me. I think him
in mid card is the perfect sort of context for everything. Him in the main event, it's kind of we're pushing it. But you know what? I don't mind the Roman and Corbin thing, but it's just it can't be. We got to do better. We got to do more. I need matches. I need, Raw had some great matches this week. SmackDown doesn't have the same, it doesn't have the same opportunity to have these really long matches or these really great matches in the second hour or third hour.
I mean, the first couple weeks they did.
But here's the thing. They've completely ran out their options. And I'll say you this, and I know this isn't first on our rundown. Here's how they read out their options.
Oh, I know you're going.
Lacey Evans is a face. I'm supposed to cheer for Lacey Evans. That is how I know they've completely ran through all of their options for women. Like, well, is it going to be Alexa? Damn, we just did that. But what about, Nikki? We just did that. Carmella? No, we're not doing that. And now it's just like, even though I think Carmella would be probably the best thing, to be honest.
Why did they not call? Well, now NXT, they're stuck because they can't call up any of those women because they're all in programs. So none of those women can be called up. They booked themselves into a corner. I feel like they've thrown the booking up at the women. They're just throwing stuff at the wall. Like
Ember Moon shows up on backstage with a boot on, and I'm just like, oh, great. Now we cannot expect her back.
Like, who could they like? I think more than ever, how we used to be like, well, they could just call up Bianca. They could just call up TNR, Conti, all that stuff. Like, they have roles now, and they can't go. So SmackDown has to make do with what they have until WrestleMania, Meelz. Can you believe this?
No, I can't. I mean, I'm not sure if we're leading up to this Bayley Sasha blow off type of thing. I don't see why you would turn any of them face at this point, considering how much stock you put in as Sasha as a heel, returning as a heel at the earlier of the year, and then how much you're just doing this new Bayley thing where she's a heel and it's kind of working out. But Lacey Evans is a face. We have reached a dark, dark place on SmackDown.
Let me be honest with you, man. Sorry, Novak. They don't ever do Bayley any favors when she has a title. I feel like if you get the title off of her, it will immensely improve the women's division on the show because I just don't feel like she ever does anything with it.
I feel like, you can count on her for the matches, but at the same time, it's like the roster isn't there. The roster on Raw, and it's
this time it isn't her fault.
What's so weird about it? It's the fact that the women's tag team champions are supposed to be on both shows. And of course, they're on Raw because that's their roster, but they're only going to stay on Raw for the next couple months. Like, we're not getting, we got Mandy and Sonya doing nothing, Carmella doing nothing. And I think even Sonya would have been a better, you could have wedged her as a face and kind of pushed her to a little, let's do a program there. Let's give her an opportunity at TLC. No one's going to watch this anyway. But, like, it's so just SmackDown. I mean, we got a couple things on SmackDown that were notable. A couple returns, a couple championship defenses, a couple programs. But overall, it is not worth the price of admission. And Raw has been smoking it every week.
Yeah, I did watch this show.
I did too. So
well, actually, no. Let me stop. I YouTubed this show.
Wow.
Sad. I YouTubed it. I did like the overarching storyline that people seem to hate right now, or they seem to hate the placement of the Fiend. I thought that. Again, I feel two ways about it. I'm like, if they had to, I'm not a big fan. Okay, I'm not a big fan of the Fiend being all throughout the show. But y'all wanted him to have the belt, and he's there every week. So this is what you're gonna get every single week.
I've said this from the beginning. You got to deliver in the ring, and there's no way that this. To me, if they manage to make this kind of work, where it's a competitive match, I get it, and I like the slow build of Daniel Bryan returning to the Yes Movement, and I think it's pretty fire. But it's only fire if the Yes Movement provides a strong opposition to the Fiend, and it's kind of like his kryptonite maybe, or something along those lines. Like suddenly Brian starts kicking out of whatever, and he's lasting through everything because he's got the support of the people and all this other stuff. But first of all, the end of SmackDown, he pulls him under the ring and starts ripping at his hair. So what are we getting on Friday? What are we getting?
Bald Brian.
Bald Brian.
He's been bald before. I think it's
hair or beard.
Well, here's the thing that they're kind of alluding to in a lot of ways is that everyone who was with the Fiend, they change. So if they're good guys, they of course end up as bad guys at the end. That's Finn, that's Seth, that is those two. And it's Brian now who was a bad guy going to good guy because the Fiend has changed him. And I like that idea. I think it's, as an idea, it's cool because you never really had a character that's that effectual. You can't do it to everybody, obviously, but they've never been that effectual. And I think that's a cool idea. So stripping Brian back down to his roots, taking away the new Daniel Bryan look and making him go back to the low cut, clean cut babyface Daniel Bryan, I think that's a great idea.
Unless the beard is off, I don't know. It is what it is. I just don't know what's going on anymore. Like SmackDown is just so disappointing to me, and there's not even a silver lining that I would love. There's kind of nothing going through it. I feel like maybe the silver lining might be that I feel like Ali's finally getting some things. Like he's getting a lot of time on the show. He's getting a couple wins, a couple other stuff like that. But I feel like much like Raw from last week, the SmackDown from last week was kind of like an overall roster reset because we got a couple different, allegiances changes from heels to faces and faces to heels. We got a couple returns and we got a whole bunch of other things. Let's see. In terms of the returns, there was 3 returns.
Yep.
That was kind of there was Alexa Bliss returned. Big face pop.
Kind of a but huge face pop. I think that was the best return to me of the night.
Sheamus is returning. How do you feel about Sheamus?
I'm glad to see him. I'll just be honest. We thought we were going to see him a long time ago.
Do you think he's returning as a heel or a face?
A heel. He don't work as a face to me.
People don't like. Yeah, I don't think his style is like. To be honest, I'm glad that he's on the show because it desperately needs like different talent. However, when it comes, he starts rustling in the ring, and I'm just like, all right, turn it off.
I thought Sheamus got better during that Cesaro feud, like after that.
Yeah, but that was because he was like in moderation, and it was also next to Cesaro. Like Cesaro was also featured in the tag team championship match with New Day versus Nakamura and Cesaro, and I thought that was fantastic. I thought in terms of just, I never thought in my mind Cesaro and Nakamura would win.
Yeah.
But I thought it was pretty good. It's interesting how Cesaro always gets slotted into a tag team. He can't escape tag teams. He always finds someone. They always stick him with someone. They always put him with something. Can we get solo Cesaro? I'm ready for him to wild out on the roster, to be honest with you. And the third return, who looks like he's a face now, Elias.
I forgot about this return. I think there was like literally zero reaction to him returning also, but
man just strolled out of the back. It's like, Elias, where have you been? He was like, I've been finding myself. Been
AKA ankle injury.
Yeah. Taking a walk, a journey. Yeah, play that new song. Dana Brooke out here doing her little head bop, whatever, doing a little 2-step, whatever. It is what it is. I don't know what's in for this. None of this seems promising, to be honest with you. None of these returns.
Elias is never good in the ring. Let's just be honest here. So whatever that's going to be, good luck. The Shinsuke Sammy Cesaro thing seems to have the most upside to me, honestly. I think
really, I feel like it's going nowhere at a very slow pace. Not like nowhere fast, just slowly nowhere.
I do think Shinsuke needs to lose that belt. He's had it for a really long time.
He's not even doing anything with it. There's no scene. There's no scene. Yeah, but there's no scene. There's no Intercontinental title scene. U.S. Championship, we had 4 guys show up again.
Yeah, I think that was the thing. Like, and we're gonna talk about that on Raw. Like, Raw actually has a mid card. SmackDown kind of just has guys floating back and forth. And when
SmackDown has like a 9:45 through 9:30 spot, and that's when you can see anything and everything, and then you get to the main event.
When Roman like leaves and because he's going to, and he goes to the top of the card again, it's going to be Ali, Shorty G, and blank. Exactly.
Nah, that's not how SmackDown works. All right, first of all, we forgot a major point here. Custom Bray Wyatt
Oh
Championship.
God.
We forgot this major point. And
That was part of the 5 vignettes that he had on Friday night.
If you see my fingers right now, my fingers are doing the Monique thing, like what she did to Charlemagne type of thing. But my fingers is because there was a big discussion on Twitter this week. Now, I think we are on opposing sides of this conversation.
Okay. We'll see. What's your side of this conversation?
Bray Wyatt, custom championship, $6,500 custom championship. It don't even look like an actual belt. It should look disgusting. $6,500. Now, there was a conversation on Twitter this week regarding Naomi's custom women's championship that never got a replica ever in WWE. And people are very mad about it because it's, they give this belt a replica. It's $6,500, but they don't give Naomi a replica. What's up with that? I personally feel like they should definitely do, even if it's not a major release, limited time release, WrestleMania, something. It's the only custom women's championship that has ever existed. You realize that, right?
That's cool.
That's all right. See,
well, I didn't get my point out. You didn't let me talk. I was going to get your point. Like, how you? Okay. Again, I'm not trying to argue about this anymore. But
sure,
the Bray Wyatt belt and the Bray Wyatt mask and the Bray Wyatt thing is a huge collaboration with Tom Savini. If you guys don't know, Tom Savini is like, and the thing is, here's the thing. I'm not saying this because you're supposed to care or you're supposed to be into it or it's supposed to like make a whole lot of sense to you. He's a huge horror director, makeup artist, guy who's done work on Friday the 13th, Night of the Living Dead. He was in Dawn of the Dead back in the 70s, 80s. That's the guy who created this mask. That's the guy who created this belt. WWE's kind of tapping into a niche market of horror fans and people who like this type of shit. And they will buy it and they will put it on a credit card, think about it later. I think that, again, there is a market for the Bray Wyatt thing. I think that they look at it as Bray is number one in merch. He's one of the most over guys, probably the most over guy, not over Becky, but he's the most over male in the company right now. I think that's undisputed. I think that just everything about Bray is hot right now and they're striking when the iron's hot. I'm not saying Naomi shouldn't have had a replica. I think a lot of people got that misconstrued. I'm just saying that I'm thinking from the mind of the company. They're saying Bray's hot right now. Let's go with this. They're looking at Naomi, and at the time during this women's revolution thing, they're not clearly thinking of doing this type of thing. And they're looking at the bottom line. They're thinking we can get some marks to pay $6,000 for this. If we were to make a light up belt, there's a lot of liabilities and production things that could go into that. A custom belt done by someone who's popular in the horror genre that people will come out and they'll show them this belt and say we spent the money on it. They think that there's people that's gonna do that. I just think that WWE doesn't think people would have bought the Naomi belt because she's never been comparatively. And I hate. Listen, I'm not trying to be sexist here. Comparatively, she wasn't there where Bray was, and they're going with what was hottest. Like if Becky came out with a custom belt, a custom demand belt, it'd be on WWE Shop tomorrow. That's all I'm saying. I'm just trying to see both sides here. I'm not saying she doesn't deserve one. I'm just saying that that's probably what they're thinking. I'm trying to tiptoe on landmines here, as you can see. I
feel you. We all love Naomi here.
I do. I love Naomi. I'm not saying that people wouldn't buy the Naomi belt. But people aren't coming out in droves and copping the Fiend, the Naomi merchandise, like they're copping the Fiend masks, which I see all the time, the Fiend shirts, which sold out, the Fiend headless lantern, which sold out too. Like people are copying the stuff that he's doing. And I think that they want to strike while the iron's hot, and that's what they see the cost benefit being there for them. They can take that loss on creating it because they know someone's gonna buy it. There you have it. That's my thought.
No. That's your thought. I respect your thoughts.
You're absolutely right though. You're right. I think my position is if they want to do that, WWE has all the power in the world to next month, next 6 months, next year commemorate her 3-4 year anniversary of winning the title by doing that. They could absolutely do that. I think if they make a loud enough noise about it, I think WWE will listen. But I don't think that they should be trying to compare what the Fiend got to her, because that's not mutually exclusive. It's not the same thing at all.
Right. All right.
It's really not. Like I think that this collaboration to WWE is something that has been ongoing all year with this Fiend character, which they've sunk, and you know this, and we see it. They've sunk a lot of money into this character.
Right.
And they want to see a return on investment.
You're right. You're right.
That's all I'm saying. Like the collaboration, I know that mask ain't cheap. I know that collaboration wasn't cheap, and I know it's probably like a Bray thing. The belt is ugly as hell.
The belt is ugly. No alibi, bro. It is ugly, man.
It's a terrible belt. I would never have this thing in my house. I would never pay $6,000 for it.
No.
Ever. It's an ugly belt. I was just trying to position it as, guys, think of it from the other side. Like, people think too much with like the emotion, and they go right and they start posting and they start comparing it. It's not the same thing.
Right.
If it was, you know what they would have something with? If it was Charlotte had a custom belt and they never did that for Naomi, go in. Go the F in. If it's the Fiend who is like on TV and people freaking love them and there's so much money put behind it, you should know it's not the same thing. This should spark you to say, well, if the Fiend's going to get one, I'm not going to say, y'all do this for him, but not for her. I'm going to say, well, I want this custom belt. I want this custom belt. I want this custom belt. How about it just, why can't it just be that?
Right.
I'm off my soapbox.
All right. Let's off the soapbox into Monday nights.
All right. So Raw.
To green territory, to be honest with you. Good Lord.
There was a report that came out on Reddit that a site reported that Raw was going to be bad on Monday.
What is that? What kind of reporting is that, by the way? Sorry for the rude here in my background, but I looked at the article and I was like, who would give that? Like, that's not news. Like, none of it's news. Like, why would you say like Raw is going to be terrible this week and run with that as a headline? I'm like, bro, that's not news. There's nothing I'm gaining from that. Raw is usually terrible every week. Either it is or it isn't. Like, you're not breaking anything.
And then it's also going to end so badly because if it's good, you look like an idiot. And it was actually a good show.
Yeah, it's fairly good, to be honest with you. I mean, for green parts, but really good.
It was green. It was pretty green.
Pretty green.
Let's start with Seth Rollins, who I thought they did less is more with Seth and KO this week, and I thought it was very good because it gave shine to other people. The mid card ran this show.
Was Seth Green?
Seth was. Shout out to Mark, by the way. Shout out to Amp as well.
Yes, 100%.
Mark. I mean, not Mark.
Yes.
Seth was green for. I don't think Seth was green this week. He didn't deserve a green award this week. No, he did. What did he do?
The little phony apology.
How was it phony?
The not knowing about the AOP thing, but always just being around when AOP shows up or something.
Listen, when you're a leader, there's certain things that you can't explain, but you gotta direct your teammates to your voice and your words. Listen to the leader here. Follow the leader. You gotta trust him. We're not trusting Seth Rollins now. Come on, man. Y'all tripping. Y'all, the way that y'all have turned on this man and went crazy on him like that. Hey, man, I'm with Seth Hive, man. I'm with the Rollins Hive, man. I'm with that.
That's right up your alley, baby.
I'm with that. Hey, y'all. Hey, it's a lot of women that like Seth Rollins, bro. Y'all blocking y'all blessings, not liking Seth Rollins. Like, you could literally like Seth Rollins, or just be like, yo, I mess with him. You could get like 10, 15 million followers that are women. They love him. Y'all don't be capitalizing on these opportunities. I'm trying to put you up on game. Y'all need to just do that. All right, okay. So Seth Rollins comes out, cuts a promo, apologizes to KO. I thought really
he's
solid.
He's gonna be on backstage tonight too.
Yes, the air is in about 20-some minutes here.
Forgot about it last week. I didn't know that existed. But
It wasn't worth watching last week. So KO does come out, and AOP they make their presence known during KO's match with Bobby Lashley, and during the Bobby Lashley match with KO. Did you like the way that Raw flowed? Every single segment flowed into one another.
Yeah, I kind of liked Raw. I wasn't against Raw last night. It wasn't. I think by the time we got to the main event, it was kind of like, oh, we're doing this. But like, other than that, I thought Raw flowed pretty well last night, to be honest with you. I have no qualms about it. It was good. It was good. Everyone got their time. Everyone got their chance. Yes, we're doing a lot of enhancement matches, but I think that they're preparing for a sort of new air about Raw, which is what they should have been doing since the draft started, to be honest with you.
And I'm glad they're able to do that. And I think of all the shows, Raw has a more general direction than anything that Raw and NXT have a direction.
Yes.
SmackDown is just kind of aimless until I think the Rumble. I think they're waiting for the Rumble to turn up. And I'm praying that is what they're saying or what they're trying to do. But I am intrigued with the Seth Rollins AOP angle because we're waiting for the powder keg to explode, right?
Yes.
We want to know when it's going to happen. One thing we haven't mentioned here on the show, TLC is in 2 weeks and there's no matches announced. I'm thinking that they're going to put Seth and KO in a tag match against AOP.
Yeah.
I think that's where it kind of blows up.
Yeah. I mean, I could see that. Honestly, I'm not really worried about TLC. Practically, the show's going to book itself, and it's never been that great of a show. Sometimes it does. Sometimes we have great moments. Most times we don't. I'm not really worried about TLC. So if they haven't announced any matches, I know there's going to be a table match. I know there's going to be a ladder match. It might be a chairs match.
And there's going to be a TLC match.
It kind of writes itself. I understand what they're doing, and WWE has kind of done this. I think they did it with another pay-per-view just recently. There's nothing to really worry about. Just let them do their thing. You get your matches.
Yeah. Speaking of matches, Raw had by far the best TV match I've seen this week so far.
The best handicap match I've seen in my life
ever. I don't know who booked this match or who produced it, but they did a stellar job. We're talking about Charlotte versus the Kabuki Warriors. This is the rare.
There was
match.
No tags, right?
No, none. Not there were tags, but a lot of it was done tornado style. So like after I think the 5-6 minute mark, it was literally like you wouldn't have noticed it, but there were still tags. I think the last tag that happens in the match that ends the match was a secret Kyrie tag to Asuka or something like that. Something had happened where they sneak tagged, but the way that they booked it was that they'd both be out. But Charlotte was at a constant disadvantage because she could only, of course, tag the legal person, but the other partner was always on her. And I love that they use Charlotte's size to her advantage. She towers over these women. Yeah. So they Kyrie and Asuka, and I thought Kyrie shined in this match. I thought this is her best showing on the main roster so far, honestly.
Oh, easily. Yeah. And she got to pin Charlotte, so that's a double plus.
Hey, like as much as we said she was aimless at the top of this year, I think just in the last month and a half, they've really come around on them, and
since they misted Charlotte Paige in the face and got rid of her.
Yeah, you got to get rid of the toxicity. You know what I'm saying? But I love there's so many great spots. I love the attempted double superplex spot where they just kind of reversed it on her, and the story that Charlotte, she couldn't beat Asuka by herself. So why could she beat both of them by herself? She can't. She needs help.
Yeah, no, it's not possible. So I'm glad it's worth going out your way to watch. I think it is the best handicap match I've ever seen, and I've watched plenty of Attitude Era DX beatdowns, but it is the best handicap match I've ever seen, and one of the most competitive women matches of the year. To be honest with you, it's fantastic. It's worth going back and watching the full thing.
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. Of course, Charlotte does take the loss here. She falls to the insane elbow, of course. And hey, I mean, I think this is leading to the Becky, Charlotte, Asuka, Kyrie match at TLC. Mm-hmm. I'm erect for that. I'm ready for it.
All right. Maybe not the match we were say that for. But yes, all right.
I love these four together. I think Becky works the best with Charlotte and Asuka, honestly, and Sasha. I think those are like great. Asuka works well with pretty much everyone. I love the direction of these women now. I love the again, like the only issue I had with the women on Raw was that they only feature these four.
Yeah.
When they could be featuring a lot more. They have a deeper roster than SmackDown does, and I think they could really showcase that.
The Liv stands are waiting for Liv.
What are we?
What do we do with Liv?
Yeah, I don't know. Are we? What are we waiting for?
I think whatever they're doing, it's kind of like they did with the New Day, right? Like before we actually saw the New Day debut, it took them months of like working it out on the house shows and figuring out how to make it work. And I think that's what kind of they're doing with Liv. It's like, how do we make this work the best for us? Same with Bray Wyatt, which was essentially like it took him 18 months to get to the roster, and now he has all this cool shit. But Liv will get her day.
Sure. There was just an ad that just aired on TNT. That is an AEW ad that says AEW crushes NXT, AEW trounces NXT, AEW buries NXT.
Well, that's not accurate.
This is not going to end the way that they think it does.
No, that is not accurate at all. Wow.
Hold on, I'm watching it right now. Wow. This is insane. They might want to take this one back. It has like quotes from Forbes and the Wrap. I'm guessing about the ratings stuff. It's like pull quotes.
Huh. Yeah, not this week. Wow. That sucks.
They're trying to get real negative. I don't think they want to play this game.
I'm not surprised.
All right, back to our shows. No Becky on Raw again.
No Becky. She's backstage, but she's not on Raw.
I think it's good. You want to make Becky a thing, right? You want to make her an attraction.
I'm sure over the last number of weeks. I mean, she was at Starrcade over the last weekend, so it's not like you didn't see her. But I agree with you. Like, we're currently doing a thing. It's working out because Asuka's beating Charlotte. Now Kyrie has pinned Charlotte. Like, so there's a thing where you're powering up these Kabuki warriors. And you don't necessarily want Becky Lynch to immediately like cut them off at the legs really quickly. You want to build that up. And, like you said, we have over a week and a half. We have about a week and a half until TLC, and I'm sure she'll be back on Raw next week. But she said she still has one debt to collect. She doesn't say the name, but she says, I have one debt to collect, and I'm intending on collecting it.
It's Asuka.
Of course.
Yeah, it's Asuka. The Raw mid-card, as we mentioned before, it shined on this episode. You have AJ Styles, Randy Orton, Ricochet, Drew McIntyre, Rey Mysterio. They carried the middle part of this show.
Don't forget Humberto.
And Humberto, I'm sorry, and Humberto.
No Dami Mas this week, but yeah.
I thought it was really cool to have those three guys on one team. I thought it made the match a lot more exciting. I mean, I think as far as, again, getting the best high flyers, SmackDown's got Ali, who's one of my favorite guys right now, but Raw clearly won here in the draft.
Raw clearly won. I didn't particularly watch a draft, watch this match, but I do agree that they won overall just by having a viable mid card, having guys like AJ Styles being able to go down and Randy Orton able to go down, Drew McIntyre able to make some sense of this entire thing, and all look like viable contenders for United States Championship. I mean, this is probably the most competitive that division has been in centuries, to be honest with you. Like, it's really, really good. And not only that with the mid-card, I mean, yes, the United States champion stuff, but the mid-card programs of them building up Aleister Black and Aleister Black versus Tony Nese, Andrade versus Eric Young. What else? They had one more. Drew McIntyre versus Akira Tozawa. Like, first of all, we're getting guys on Raw who've never seen the light of day on Raw in quite some time, but you're also enhancing all these talents, but having these competitive matches as well. And I think that's kind of what, I mean, to me, this is, in terms of for the most of Raw, this is the perfect Raw. Things happen. Great matches that are leading to things. A big match that kind of stole the show, and, you know, more things to come. I mean, it's a perfect Raw.
Yeah, I just really enjoyed it. It was you took the words out of my mouth there. I just think it was a solid show. I even the Bobby Rusev Lana thing, it's getting them over. I mean, you heard even with KO in the ring or being dragged out of the ring, you heard Rusev Day chants for him to come back out and save him. And I thought that was, you know, it means a lot that the crowd is reacting to a lot of the stuff on Raw, because for a long time we watch this show every week. They weren't reacting to any of it.
No, but look, back to the numbers on that Bobby and Lana thing. YouTube, 2.1 million views.
Right.
For this Bobby. It's the number 21 trending thing in the world right now. It is the most viewed thing on Raw on YouTube. They're going to continue doing it, even though it legitimately was kind of the same thing that they did on Starrcade.
Nobody watched Starrcade.
I watched Starrcade. I was working on stuff and I had it on in the background.
I didn't watch it.
Rusev comes out the crowd, obviously. He's like, yo, he's been banned from Raw. He's got a, restraining order. Those never work in wrestling. Yeah. It's sad. Comes out and beats up Bobby, even though the police protection is there, which was lame protection, by the way. They didn't look like they could hold down a cough. Like, what the hell? And then at some point, Bobby Lashley scolds both of the officers. It was like, what kind of protection is this? Lana does as well, and he bumps him. The officer says some weird thing. He says, in the state of Tennessee, we do things a little bit differently, and then proceeds
I said, wait, what?
And then proceeds to arrest Bobby Lashley for doing nothing. I mean, not doing nothing. He bumped him, but the man clearly puts him under arrest, and I'm like, whoa, what is going on here? And then Lana...
They needed to have someone black in that room when they wrote that line.
No, you know what? I think... I want to say that was meant to be... Do you feel like it was more of tone deaf, or do you feel like it was clearly like something where it's just like... Because that line seems so deliberate.
It comes off as tone deaf, but I'm sure they meant it, or like Paul or whoever wrote that
it's like tongue in cheek or something.
Yeah,
right?
like they were trying to make fun of Tennessee.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Like on some Deliverance type shit.
Because I was like, that's the only line that he had. And wow, very green of them. Raw was very green. I was like, whoa.
Raw is green.
Yo, that was crazy. But yes, I mean, all of this is leading up somewhere, hopefully. I mean,
I think it goes to TLC and Royal Rumble, and then we'll be done with it.
I hope so. I mean, yeah, I kind of want to be done with it now, but it's moving so fun. I don't know where does this end? Maybe this goes on forever.
Lana leaves town. She needs to go to Smackdown.
Lana, how do you feel like? Hold on, how do you feel like Lana is doing?
Terrible with the promos. Let me just tell you. Whatever she said to KO this week, I need her to go back and like re-listen to that 100 times.
She wasn't ready. She wasn't ready. She wasn't ready for him to talk back as much as he did, I think. And, you know, I mean, yes, the KO thing was bad. I think the stuff afterwards in terms of like, you guys are booing me right now. And I think that's how you get like real heel heat, because she sounds like a whiny, you know, very, you know, Caucasian-esque.
I like the Machka Baby line. That was hilarious to me.
Bad boy of R&B Rusev. I dig it.
One more thing before we end off on Raw. Aleister Black, Buddy Murphy feud. It's nice to see a feud get built naturally in the mid card like that. I think it's really cool and different, and we haven't seen this in quite a while.
I agree. I'm looking forward to the match at TLC. Hopefully, it will not be on the kickoff show.
I don't think so. The way that they're building this, I think they're going to give it time. I am all ready for this match, and the way they build up Aleister, knock on wood, I don't think that they would put him on the kickoff show. I think they'd have him open the show, but probably not kickoff show.
Yeah, I could see that. 100%.
And I think that if you don't have anything else, Meelz, that was the week in wrestling.
Yeah, I got nothing else. What I'll probably say is I was busy working on a lot of the RNC Radio live stuff early in the week.
Oh, excellent. Also, oh my God, our year-end show.
Oh, yeah. We got to figure that out.
Holy shit.
Because the year's almost ending. I don't know if you know this.
I think we'll have information on that next week because I'm looking at the calendar and Christmas is imminent. And usually our year-end shows are 2 episodes, right? So yes. I think our cutoff is usually right after the last pay-per-view. So our cutoff for year-end where we just start doing... Actually, no. I think if we're going to do year-end, it should be after TLC. And I think the first year-end episode should be on the 18th. Because we have to do a prediction show.
I'm 100%. I'm 100% fine with that.
Okay, so we'll we have to actually brainstorm this. We've been trying to do other stuff.
It is what it is. We've done this for years.
So
they'll get what they get, and they'll love it.
That's what Vince says. Of course, as always, you can follow us at RNC Radio Live. We have some banging year-end playlists. Thank you to everyone in RNC, as well as Meelz on the design and Mark on the editing and producing of the wonderful videos that we've been tweeting out all week about our year-end playlist on RNC Radio and the R&B and RNC. Check those out. They're very, very good. They will get you through the rest of this year. Also, a new episode of Spot Callers with myself and Cyrus dropped this week where we review IWA Something to Prove 2005 featuring Necro Butcher versus Samoa Joe. I'm pretty sure that's Meelz' favorite match.
Yes, it is.
We will also have a brand new episode of the War Report a week from a holiday week off. I'll have them explain what happened last week's episode, but that will be dropping, I believe, either Thursday or Friday of this week as well. We also had a new episode of RSBN, new episode of The Lookout, new season of The Lookout has started. Meelz, how do you feel about that?
It's pretty good. We're going over Saint Saga. I'm having a great time. If you like us talking about classic Dragon Ball Z, which is the first arc with Vegeta and Raditz and all Nappa and all the other cool people, please check it out. And what else do we got going down the pipeline? You can listen to Justin's episode of Chatting with Nelson in full. So you can listen to that. That dropped last week. He'll have a new episode next week. What else?
Did you hear it? Did you hear it yet?
I did hear it. Said a lot of nice things. Said a lot of things.
We talked about you too much.
A little bit, but I appreciate it. You know how I loved it. But yes, yes, please listen to all the content and be ready for our year-end content coming up pretty soon. Should be a doozy. This year was a very interesting year, especially capping off the decade. And I think it might be one of the biggest years that WWE has had this decade. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we will reconvene here next week, same time, same place on the A Show. And as always, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Happy Rusev Day.